What's going on, y'all? Polo Sports Talking Entertainment here again with another one. Hit the like button, sub to the channel if you're not a member, and also hit the notifications so that you're able to get all of my content and all of my videos. Now, in a recent interview, when Michael Jordan was asked uh, a question about or mentioning in reference to who changed the game, and this is according to FadeawayWorld.net. He basically had said that Magic Johnson was the one that really changed the game, not him. And this is what he basically had to say. Okay, he said, "Quote: Everybody wants to credit Michael Jordan for changing the NBA, but when Magic Johnson came in, that's where the game changed." Uh, he also said, "Quote: I was up there laughing, and well, this is what Magic had to say. He said basically, quote, I was up there laughing and almost crying at the same time, hearing my family talk, hearing Larry Bird, and when Michael said what he said, which was really amazing, end quote, Magic said. He continued on and he said, we had never heard that from Michael, for him to say that everybody thought he had turned the league around, but that I was a big part of that. And then also, this is what he said. He said, "quote: The reason we did it is because when Michael did, and this was in terms of the Last Dance. He was speaking in reference um in reference to the new series, as opposed, talking in reference to the Last Dance, talking about the Chicago Bulls. The docu series, Magic was talking about this, and he quoted and he said, "quote: The reason why we did it is because when Michael did the Last Dance, my phone just started ringing, and the former Los Angeles Lakers said in the post screening discussion, they said, 'When are you coming out with yours?' And we got the same investors, great partners, great producers, and they really took it to another level." Look, man, I'm glad that Michael Jordan had really talked about this situation right here, because you know over the course of time, it's not just been Michael Jordan that has been talked about in terms of changing the game. There's been many different players that a lot of people, I don't think, tend to talk about in terms of changing the game. Let's start all the way back, okay? Uh, a guy that I don't think really gets talked about enough for changing the game, of course, was a guy such as Wilt Chamberlain. Okay, many people thought that he had changed the game in a lot of ways. A lot of people mention Elgin Baylor as being one of the guys that changed the game, although a lot of people really don't throw him into that category, which I think is very unfair. Then, of course, you also have um, a guy like Oscar Robertson being able to be a point guard at his size and being able to be very versatile in terms of filling up a stat sheet on both ends of the floor, but yet and still being that playmaker that he was early on, particularly when he was with the Cincinnati Royals. Then, as you go along, yeah, you got guys, such as in the NBA. Sorry about the ABA. In the ABA sense, you got guys that came over like a Dr. J, like a David Thompson, that are high flyers, Connie Hawkins, guys that don't really get mentioned, but the one guy that they do see is a guy like Dr. J or Julius Irving. Then, of course, if we, they always make this, this quote: Magic Johnson and Larry Bird saved the NBA, and then they say that Michael Jordan had taken it to a whole nother level, right? But then you have guys that mention guys like, they even bring up, LeBron. They'll be like, well, we've never seen a guy like that with the athleticism that he has, and also being able to, with his passing, because at that time, LeBron was, known as a really good passer and everything, and then also being his size, being able to handle the rock. But then they'll be like, yeah, they call him sort of a hybrid Magic Johnson. Then of course you got Steph Curry being able, a lot of people credit him to changing the game too as well. Uh, some people, some people even mention a guy like Shaq in terms of his dominance and stuff, but they'll say a comparison. They'll be like, well, Wilt was dominant too, in a sense that he was able to dominate a game, and he was just as strong, just and just as agile, yada yada yada. And then of course some people mention Hakeem Olajuwon being able to be a big and utilize his footwork the way that he did, and being able to be agile and also control the game defensively too. But they'll draw that comparison, and they'll be like, well, you know, they'll say Wilt was able to do the same thing, or Kareem was able to do the same thing. And if they would have counted stats, then of course he would have been higher than a guy like Hakeem Olajuwon. They'll say all of these different things. But I think that, you know, when you look at a guy like Magic Johnson, you know, I think a lot of people tend to forget that when he initially came into the league, they had never seen a guy play the point guard position quite like him at the size that he was at. People got to remember, you're talking about 6'9", 6'10", same size as Larry Bird and everything. But Larry Bird, the difference between him and Larry Bird, he was the primary ball handler and the primary playmaker on the team. That's not to take away anything from Larry Bird, because he could play make and he could shoot, and was also a dependent team defender too as well. Not an individual defender, but a team defender. But I think the thing that gets lost in the shuffle is his imprint on the game. Yes, Larry was with him, no, without a doubt. Larry was with him, but I think Magic being able to make his imprint on the game right away was very profound. Now, for those of y'all that don't know, I have Isaiah ranked above Magic, and also there was a time when I had Oscar Robinson ranked above Magic, but the only reason I put Robinson third is for the simple fact that I I was able to watch Magic Johnson firsthand. You know what I'm saying? I was able to watch Isaiah Thomas firsthand, and I think it's unfair for me to sit here and be like, okay, well, I watched clips of him, or I even went back in the days and did film study. I think being able to watch it firsthand, and watch that guy live, or watch a particular player firsthand when you're growing up and everything, you're able to give a better assessment in terms of who you think was, or who you hold in high regard as the better player or whatnot. you know. But I think another reason why I have Oscar Robertson up there too is because for a time being they weren't counting many stats, much like with when it came to Magic Johnson, they weren't counting some of the things that they count now as he transitioned over and got older as a player or whatnot. And it's the same thing as Jerry West. If they had counted, 3 pointers, back then, as well as like a guy like Pete Maravich and some of these other guys that could shoot, even Rick Barry, some of these guys would have to have a lot of points, especially considering the fact that there wasn't any 3-point line until later on. But that's neither here nor there. I'm not gonna go off the rails. Now, I think it was very good for Michael Jordan to say something like this because Michael Jordan was a ruthless competitor. He was a ruthless competitor, had a reputation as an asshole. Everybody knows it. You talk to the average person, they'll tell you, well, Michael Jordan was an asshole, blah 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 blah. He was not a good uh person to be around, wasn't a good teammate and all this other stuff. You know what I'm saying? But I think that part of his competitive side could have been his drawback too as well. But Magic Johnson felt that it was admirable, and Larry Bird too, for Michael Jordan to do something like that. I mean, there were stories about Michael Jordan competing every single minute with every single thing, and he was doing that with the Dream Team too as well. But I think that he wanted that. He had a competitive rage, but a lot of people don't know that Magic Johnson had a competitive rage too. He had just as a competitive rage. Now maybe Michael Jordan's rage to win was much more, but at the same token, Magic Johnson, it gets twisted or misconstrued because he had the smile, he had the personality, he was outgoing, stuff like that. Michael Jordan was more of an introvert, more of a private person, if that makes any sense. And also Larry Bird really didn't have that much of a personality or anything. He was kind of, to himself a lot and everything like that. But when it came to being on the court and uh, the lights being on, things of that nature, then you got to see, who Larry Bird was and everything. But I think that they get things misconstrued about Magic because, oh, what's up with it, JMJ? It's been a minute, man. It's been a minute, Carolina. Where you been at, bro? Hope you doing all right. People have to understand that Magic Johnson was a ruthless competitor. Guys like Magic Johnson, guys like Isaiah Thomas, guys like Larry Bird. Shoot, even to a lesser degree, like Worthy, all these guys wanted to win. These guys wanted to win. So for Michael Jordan to come out and state this, I think everybody was shocked. And now that you're getting a chance to see the docu series about the Lakers and behind the scenes, I think a lot of people got the sense that the Lakers were, oh, just Showtime and just these good guys and stuff like that. And oh, okay, okay. I'm glad you had a good time, man. I hope you're doing all right though, man. Welcome back, bro. I hope you're doing okay. But I think that people look at Showtime and they act like these guys were not rugged. Man, you got to think about it. let's talk about Pat Riley for a second, right? Pat Riley was the type. Sorry about what, man? You ain't got to be sorry about nothing, JMJ. You good, man? You good? It's all right, bro. I listen. I want people to know something, okay? I want y'all to know something. Hey, man, if you got personal obligations or you got stuff that you got to handle, or everybody got a life, outside of YouTube, okay? You know, this isn't this isn't everybody's life. Now some people, they take it really extremely serious to the point where it's a matter of life and death. You know what I'm saying? Unfortunately, that's not for me, you know. But, hey, if you got things that you gotta handle, man, you don't owe me no explanation. But hey, I appreciate it. That shows me that, okay, at least you care about the channel, or you care about the LDBC community, or you care about what we're pushing for here. What's up with it, Matt? You know, so I mean, it's all good, man. It's all love, man. If you come over there and you show love, man, it's all good, man. I'm not pressuring nobody to come through. Even if you stay, 1-2 minutes or something like that. I'm just happy that you taking time out of your day because you could be doing something else. So I mean, it's all good, man. It's all good, man. Now, to get back to what I was saying though, Michael Jordan being able to pay homage to a guy like Magic Johnson is real big. And see, a lot of people think that even Isaiah Thomas, who really is, can't stand Jordan, right? And is not, the biggest Michael Jordan fan, as you well know. He's always said that Michael Jordan has always been the type not to say anything. He said that many guys have not ever went around calling themselves, the GOAT, or, the greatest of all time, or being able to say that they changed the game or anything like that. They'll tell you that. And Magic Johnson and Larry Bird have said that Michael Jordan never did it. Now, he did come in when he was playing with the Dream Team, and he basically stated, "Hey, there's a new sheriff in town." I think he was like smoking a cigar or something like that. But at the same token, they were able to realize that was just them being in competition. All of those guys that were on that dream team in '92 Barcelona, they were competing against each other, but they brought the best out of each other. You know, but for Michael Jordan to come out there and say that and really pay homage to Magic Johnson, he's showing his appreciation for a guy like Magic Johnson. You know, and I don't think a lot of people don't appreciate Magic Johnson. I know plenty of people that have said that they feel like Magic Johnson is better than Michael Jordan, depending on how you look at things. Hey, look, I don't criticize anybody in terms of their argument about who the goat is, because everybody looks at basketball much. Everybody looks at Some people look at basketball the same, and some people look at basketball differently. You know, if you're a guy that loves the big man, you love rebounding, you love block shots, you love the interior, then 9 times out of 10, you're gonna think that one of the classic big men, or even one of the big men in the modern era, might be your GOAT, okay? Or if you happen to like a guy that that is a that is a point guard and facilitates and likes to set the table. Uh, Not too much scoring, but he'll give you a bucket or two. Then okay, then you might think that guy's the GOAT. But it all depends on what you look at. There's some guys that probably don't even think that an offensive player is their GOAT. They think that a defensive player is their GOAT or is the best player of all time. It all depends on what you look at. But you have people that don't think that Michael Jordan is the greatest of all time. I have no problem with that. As a matter of fact, I like the deflection. I have many content creators that come on here. One of my guys, man, shout out to Goat. He thinks that Kobe is better in a lot of ways. There's a lot of people I know people that, like I've said time and time again. You said Jordan could have added Irving or Bird and the old school players too. Well, yeah, he could have. He definitely could have. You know, um, what's up with it, Ebony Star Max? What's up with it? Now, look, I've often said this, JMJ. Check this out. These guys don't really get a lot of credit. Okay, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right. You're right about that. Yeah, True Raw definitely he has Wilt as his GOAT. I have an uncle that has Kareem as his GOAT. I have multiple cousins that and family members. They don't have Michael Jordan in their top as their top players or whatever. If on my dad's family side, a lot of guys got Dr. J. A lot of guys, believe it or not, there's some people that did not play in the NBA, or there's some players that did not play in the NBA who some people hold as a regard. Like for instance, um, Wilt Chamberlain, he said that Meadowlark Lemon was a great player and did not get enough credit or whatever. He was like one of the best players that he saw. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar at the time, Lou Alcindor, he said that Earl Manigault was the greatest player that he ever saw. You know, well, I don't hate on Kobe. I don't hate on Kobe, but that people are gonna hate on Kobe. Some people feel like because Kobe is a carbon copy of Jordan, but Kobe did a lot of better things than Jordan. A lot of things better than Jordan. In my opinion, he was a better ball handler. Um, Kobe Kobe had I would say Kobe had a better shot in terms of distance, but some people are going to say no, that's cap because of, the inefficiencies or whatever. But if you really go back and you go look at Kobe, he rarely, just much like Jordan, he rarely faced one-on-one defense. Yeah, Earl Manigault. Nobody talks about Earl Manigault, and I mean this guy was getting. And I know some people are gonna be like, yeah, he never got a dollar bill off the back of or coins off the top of the backboard. But you got to realize, man, there were guys that were really jumping that high, like David Thompson. Had it not been for drugs, he probably would have played a lot longer. But he was still a Hall of Famer, and he was one of the innovators of that type of style that you see in the in basketball, like high flyers, like Dr. J, Connie Hawkins. Elgin Baylor, David Thompson. You know, it wasn't just Michael Jordan. And you got to realize who was at Michael Jordan's Hall of Fame speech. It was David Thompson. And he learned a lot from David Thompson. You know, Michael Jordan does, as silly as it may sound, he pays homage. You know, he said that Magic Johnson, he changed the game. A lot of people feel like Larry Bird changed the game in a lot of ways. Yeah, Ben Wilson. Yeah. Benji. You know, but it just depends on it depends on what what you look at. But no, I never hated on Kobe. As a matter of fact, I think that Kobe, one can argue that Kobe has the best work ethic ever. Like he was, he said, his trainer, Tim Grover, they had to beg Kobe to stop working out. Yeah, he almost became a wolf pack. He almost became a wolf pack. There's some people, like I talked about it the other day, JMJ. I don't, you could scroll through my videos, or if you choose to, scroll through my videos and stuff. I talked about Len Bias already. I talked about Len Bias. Some people feel like Len Bias would have been better had he lived. Some people felt like he would have been better than Jordan. And I have that theory that if because Len Bias was a better shooter coming out of college. Len Bias was powerful underneath too. He was rugged and he was also finesse. He was quick and he was athletic. And he was younger and he was a real durable. Now Michael Jordan, don't get me wrong, he was still a savage and everything, but at that time they didn't even project Michael Jordan to really go that far. They thought that Michael Jordan was just going to be one of those fly by night players. They thought that Sam Bowie, the Sam Bowies, and at that time Akeem, not Hakeem, Akeem Olajuwon was going to be better. They thought that Brad Daugherty was going to be better. They thought that James Worthy was going to be better. They thought that Sam Perkins was going to be better. They thought that all those guys. You said, well, the thing about it is basketball was played different during that time. What's up with it, T Price? I see you in the building. Now, check it. If if we want to go there, you couldn't just go there. You had to play the system. They would sit you down in a heartbeat. And as a matter of fact, JMJ will tell you, and everybody that's from Carolina in here will tell you, right? That Jordan's primary role in college was to be a defender and a high energy guy and stuff. Okay, you spot up or whatever. The guys that were on there it was a combination of James Worthy, Sam Perkins, Matt Doherty, and all those other guys, especially when those guys had left and everything. Those were the guys. And then when Jordan came into his own after that shot or whatever, then he was looked at as a scorer, but he couldn't. They weren't gonna just let him just do all the stuff. Now he was doing some showboat type stuff, out in the open floor and stuff like that. But I guarantee you he was running. Hold on one sec, y'all. All right, sorry about that. You said James um you said Sixers fans need to be concerned about. Well, we're not talking about James Harden right now. Okay, sorry, LeBronto. We're not talking about that. So we already talked about that, but we're talking about what Jordan has said about Magic Johnson. But I've already addressed that. I've already addressed that. Yeah, he became okay. Jordan became Player of the Year, but what y'all don't realize is that Maryland had defeated uh they defeated them in the ACC tournament, and Len Bias became the ACC Player of the Year. So, but yeah, he was Player of the Year, but it didn't matter, man. Len Bias, go back and go look at Len Bias, man. He was a beast, man. He was definitely a beast. But yeah, that was it, man. I just wanted to talk to y'all a little bit about um what Michael Jordan had said in reference to Magic Johnson. He basically said that Magic Johnson had changed the game, not him. Um, and you know that holds a lot of weight, and a lot of people were shocked to hear that. But yeah, Magic Johnson, because they had never seen a guy his size, be able to handle the rock like he did. You'll even see in the docu series, Norm Nixon was making fun of it. Now I know a lot of that stuff is for Hollywood or Hollyweird per se, but there is a lot of truth in that. Now, as far as Jerry West, I think that Jerry West had got, he pretty much had got over exaggerated in terms of how he was and stuff like that. But they're gonna do that for for Hollywood purposes and everything. But and see, this is another thing about Magic Johnson too. I don't think people understand now. If you want to get into metrics and you want to get into numbers, he had the second highest winning percentage of all time. He had the second he had the second highest winning percentage of all time. And I mentioned that earlier. The the first the first highest was Kawhi Leonard. Okay, and uh Kawhi Leonard's winning percentage was 74.5. It was like 74. Yeah, well, 74.48, and then Magic Johnson was 73.95%. And this is, like I said, over 5 games. So it's Kawhi Leonard, and Magic Johnson. They were leading the pack. And the reason why I mention that is because Sean Marion, he went on a rant. It was an epic rant, and he was just basically telling people that, why y'all criticizing my jumper when, you know, he was top 5 in multiple categories for Suns history, and on top of that, he had one of the highest winning percentages in Suns history. I think it was at 93%. You said Michael is a humble dude. Well, I mean, in some instances he is, but in some instances he's not. Like I said, I don't know him well enough to really say that. But from what people have told me, you know, you know, he gets a bad rap about a lot of things. I think that like him hiring a lot of African Americans for his company, that was real admirable. But you still, if you're still about how you treat people too, you know. But you know, in this instance, man, he was a ruthless competitive, and for him to say something like that, it definitely held weight. But besides that, man, I gotta go. Make sure y'all like the video, share it, subscribe, hit the notifications. Polo Sports Talking Entertainment, man. I'll get at y'all later.